day and welcome to the 55th episode of the podcast series Decolonizing the Mind. Um, Today I'm going to discuss Hezbollah's plans for the war with Israel. But before I do that, let me come back to an important event of the last week, which is the elections in Venezuela, which was contested by the fascists in Venezuela. They tried to engineer a coup d'etat, but they failed. And it's important to note that for the coming years, the Venezuelan revolution, the Bolivarian revolution, is in still stable hands under the leadership of President Maduro. So let me deal with Hezbollah. There's a war coming up uh, after the murder by Israelis of Haniyeh. Iran has pledged to punish Israel, and that punishment is coming. And part of that punishment is a coordinated attack against Israel of the axis of resistance. Hezbollah plays an enormous role in it, and also the resistance in Gaza and outside of Gaza. And I'll deal with these two elements, um, and I'll do that on the basis of two articles that I saw. One was by Ibrahim Al-Amini in Al-Akhbar, a Lebanon daily, an article on July 11th. It has been translated by the pro-Zionist Middle Eastern Media Research Institute, MEMRI. They do a lot of work in translating primary sources, but obviously from the point of view of the Zionists. And another article a month before, on June 26, by Justin Salhani on the website of Al Jazeera. And Ibrahim Al-Amini in Al-Akhbar writes that in the event of an all-out war, Hezbollah is likely to perpetrate a comprehensive attack on the Israeli home front. And he maintains that in such a scenario, Hezbollah would destroy strategic civilian and military infrastructure and displace about 1.5 million Israelis. They already have displaced hundreds of thousands of Israelis um, in the border area, but in the event of an all-out war, Hezbollah has a plan that's different from any appraisal that Israel may have. And to demonstrate his point, Al-Amin proposed a thought experiment to envision the scenario of an all-out war based on Hezbollah's attempt at deterrence, embodied in 3 short videos it released recently that revealed some of his potential targets in Israel. These videos were titled Hudhud 1, Hudhud 2, and To Whom It May Concern. And Al-Amin stated that in these videos alone, Hezbollah presents more than 100 vital targets, including intelligence and military bases, weapons storage facilities, aerial defense systems, and others, in addition to more than 50 central infrastructure targets in Israel, such as seaports, airports, power stations, refineries, petrochemical industry facilities, and much more. So I've seen this video because they are there on the internet, where the drones of Hezbollah just captured all these strategic targets. They filmed it, and they went through the whole security system of the air defense of Israel and say, we know where they are and we can get it. So he concludes that Israel has lost the element of surprise, so that even if should it launch an unexpected attack on Hezbollah, it will not be able to incapacitate or disable the organization with high-quality capabilities. And second, the enemy's aerial defense system, the Iron Dome, David Sling, the Arrow and Patriot system, and Ferris aircraft would only be able to respond with a 50% success ratio to an extensive first attack. Alamin claims that the simultaneous launch of tens of thousands of weapons, drones, rockets, missiles, and various types of artillery would be sufficient to destroy and incapacitate all the targets in Israel referred above. And then he says there's a serious possibility that Hezbollah will embark on a large ground operation deep into the occupied north of Israel. And according to him, such steps will bring about the immense destruction of strategic civilian and military infrastructure in Israel, the displacement of 1.5 million Israelis, and even greater anarchy than that which ensued in the communities facing the Gaza Strip after October 7 attack. So he's saying Hezbollah, like Hamas, entered out of the Gaza, the occupied territory. Hezbollah might enter the occupied territory with ground forces. And he adds that Hezbollah will not limit itself to the northern third of Israel, but also operate in the part of the country where its nerve center is located. And then he said if Israel attacks Lebanon, there will be an intifada of the axis of resistance. Forces from Iraq, Yemen will attack US and British bases in the region, impose naval blockade on Israel. And if you look at the map, Israel is surrounded by Muslim population that want to fight with boots on the ground. Turkey, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Yemen, Iran, Iraq, Egypt, Jordanian, Lebanon, Syria. Look at this map. Israel is a tiny spot in the whole area surrounded by Muslims, of which the majority of these countries are ruled by family dictatorships. But their population might get involved. Now, Justin Salhani in Al Jazeera's website says the Axis will participate in confronting any military action by Israel against Lebanon, says Qassem Qasir. He quotes Qassem Qasir in an analysis close to Hezbollah. When a recent media report suggested that non-Lebanese armed fighters were ready to volunteer to head for Lebanon to fight with Hezbollah, a brief flurry of questions arose. How would the Axis participate? Would it be the groups or individuals heading randomly into Lebanon? A few days prior to June 19, Hezbollah's Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah had said that the group was rejecting offers from leaders of armed groups who were offering to send their foot soldiers to Lebanon. We told them, Nasrallah said, we told them, thank you, but we are overwhelmed by the numbers we have. He's adding that Hezbollah already had more than 100,000 fighters. So, the Al Jazeera reports points out that there's a growing coordination. As Hezbollah cemented itself as a regional power and a pivot in the axis of resistance, its influence extended to Syria, Iraq, and Yemen, where it coordinates logistics, operations, and training with like-minded groups. So they coordinate not only logistics and operations, also training. So they have their people training with people in Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. Many of the groups, especially those that are transnationally inclined in the axis, will be asked by Hezbollah leaders in different countries to help and support them, says Renat Mansour, Iraq Initiative Project Director at the British Chatham House. The groups could include parts of the population mobilization forces in Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, or foreign and local fighters in Syria that have backed President Bashir Assad and his wars against the country's opposition. And then the Houthis. Nick Broomfield, independent Yemen analyst, said, perhaps more than any other group in the axis of resistance, the Houthis view their relations with Hezbollah as foundational. Hezbollah has been the main contractor in providing axis resistance to the Houthis for years, and as a fellow Shia Arab movement, there's arguably a greater affinity between the two than between Houthis and Iran. I doubt that that's the case, but obviously the axis of resistance, the foundation of it is Iran. On Sunday, the Houthis and the Islamic resistance in Iraq claimed a joint raid on 4 vessels in the Israeli Haifa port. So apparently there was a raid in Israel, in the port of Haifa, by Houthis and Islamic resistance in Iraq. So this attack may have established a new dynamic. The two groups have been coordinating for years. A Houthi representative has long been present in Baghdad, while some PMF groups have had longer historic relations with the Houthis. This group will likely want to mobilize should Israel and Hezbollah engagement escalate. Now, is a wider war coming? We'll see. How an expanded war between Israel and Hezbollah would go is still not known, despite the two having intensified their rhetoric in recent weeks. Israeli officials declared last week that the country is ready for an all-out war with Lebanon. And obviously, since the killing of Haniyeh, it's now war with Iran. Nasrallah countered with the prospect of regional allies coming to Hezbollah aid and a threat to Cyprus should it cooperate with Israel, despite Cypriot denials. The Israelis used Cyprus, the airports in Cyprus, to carry out attacks on Hezbollah. So there's a parallel conflict going on in the combat on the ground and in the intelligence and in the whole preparation for the war. And then the Zionist Memory Institute has an interesting article titled Terror Organizations Consolidating the Control over Tulp Tubas in the northern West Bank and undermining the control of the Palestinian Authority. And they give details. In the West Bank, in Tulkarm and Tubas governance, they have become hotspots of resistance activities, they call it terrorist activities, against Israel. And that undermines the authority and the control of the Palestinian Authority. Militias comprising of fighters from multiple Palestinian organizations, including Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Al-Aqsa Martyr Brigades, which is from Fatah, they gain strength and engage in escalating terror, in their terms, fight against Israel while undermining the security control of the PA on the ground. And it began before the outbreak of the Gaza war, but since then it has steadily increased, and in recent months Hamas and other organizations have even been threatening to carry out attacks in the West Bank similar to the October 7 attack in southern Israel. The Tulkarm Brigade comprises of two separate militias, each based in one of the city's two refugees camps. The first is affiliated exclusively with the Islamic Jihad, and the second one is based in the other refugee camps, the Tulkarm camp. This includes fighters from several organizations. The Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade of Fatah, which doesn't obey the political leadership of Fatah and the PA, and whose fighters comprise the majority in this refugee camp. The Hamas military wing, the East al-Din al-Qassam brigades, the Islamic Jihad military wings, the Al-Quds brigades, and the Junt Allah organizations. Apparently, there are a lot of our Palestinian organizations outside of Hamas who are organizing, and now they are coordinating, and they, set out even an elite force. So the Tulkarm Brigade has been carried out shooting attacks against nearby Israeli localities and threatened to infiltrate them the way Hamas infiltrated southern Israel on October 7. For example, the Tulkarm Brigade, Rapid Response Militia as it's called, began shooting attacks as early as March 2023, including an attack on the Israeli village of Bat Hefer at very close range. So basically, they are preparing for new October 7, but then from the West Bank. A Telegram channel claimed on May 30, 2024, that on the previous day, a squad of elite militants had infiltrated Bat Hefer with the goal of assassinating a Shin Bet officer living there. According to the post, the assassination was not ultimately carried out, but the militants withdrew safely after taking a rifle and a pistol from the man's home where he was there with his children. In a separate post, the group threatened, "This is a warning for the enemy. If you carry out operations in Tulkarm as your leaders have announced, then we will replicate the scene of October 7 in Bat Hefer, of near Hafez and other settlements. Then we'll see who will besiege whom." So they are threatening the Israelis, we'll do another October 7, but then from the West Bank. So I didn't even go into the war preparation of Iran because that's now the major point. But it's good to see what happens in the West Bank and the preparation and strategy of Hezbollah. I will take a short break for a few weeks, go on vacation. I'll be back with the next podcast on September 2nd. So if you want to look more about Hezbollah, look in the book and the index of Hezbollah. And if you want to download the PDF, go to sandohere.com to do that. And if you want to support the channel, subscribe to it, share it with friends, families, and colleagues, and encourage them to subscribe, get involved in discussion group. And if you want to make a donation, go to sandohere.com to see how you can do that. Thank you for your attention and hope to see you in 2 weeks, September the 2nd.